Okay, so yan, si Madam, gabi na kasi, kaya parang napagbalik-baliktad ko na ang mga numero. Okay, yeah, so it got jumbled, Miss Rhonda. And apparently, I blurted out the wrong sequence of the numbers. So again, your section 21, so this was amended by Republic Act number 6138. Okay, as well as Presidential Decree 498. Okay, yes. So take note that when it comes to the issuance of your COR, it shall be issued to a successful applicant. Yes, successful applicant provided that the applicant is already 21 years old. Okay, yes. So that means CORs can only be given or issued to applicants who are 21 years old. Okay, so say for example, the successful applicant is only 19 years old. Can the board issue as a COR to this successful applicant? Definitely not. The successful applicant has to wait until he or she becomes 21 years old before his or her COR is issued to him or her. So that means that applicant, successful applicant, is not yet eligible. Okay, so this is what I am saying, or yes, this is what I am emphasizing in the previous discussions that I provided. So not all successful applicants, even if you graduated, even if you passed the board examination or the licensure examination, not all will be given the COR. So one particular criterion is that you have to be 21 years old. So a 19-year-old successful applicant cannot be given a COR. Okay, yes. So apart from that, yes, take note that the successful applicant should pay the required fee for his or her COR. Okay, so what is the required fee? We have 115 pesos. Okay, so we have 115 pesos so that again that successful applicant will be given, okay, will be given the COR. Okay, yes. So apart from that, when it comes to the COR itself, okay, when it comes to the COR itself, you have or you would be able to see later on when you have your own CORs that the signatories of your COR would include the members of the board. So that means the chairperson plus the 2 members plus the PRC commissioner. Okay, so in the original or in the previous laws regarding the issuance of your COR, there were only 3 signatories. So those were the members of the board. So that means the chairperson and the 2 members only. But with the amended version of Section 21, there are now 4 signatories of your COR. Okay, so again, all the members of the boards, chairperson plus the 2 members, and then the commissioner of PRC. Okay, the commissioner of PRC. So once you have now your COR, you are now considered as a duly registered medical technologist. Okay, yes. So take note class ha, once you pass the board exam, it does not necessarily mean that you are a duly registered medical technologist already. You have to file, okay, yes. You have to file for your COR, you have to pay for your COR, and you have to be 21 years old. Okay, so yes, if you are able to satisfy all of these criteria, then you are now a duly registered medical technologist. So take note that the COR, it should always be displayed in his or her place of work. Okay, yeah. So later on, when you work in laboratories, you are required, you are mandated by the law to display your COR. That is how you are going to practice the medical technology profession. Okay, so that of course, everybody, including your patients later on, would be informed that you are a duly registered medical technologist. Okay? Yeah, so take note also, I think I have mentioned this in the previous episodes, the board may issue a certificate of registration without examination to the following. So remember, I mentioned that there are exemptions as to the issuance of your COR, as to applicants, okay, who are required to take the written examination. So who are these exemptions? Number one, a graduate of BSMT or BSPH and in practice of medical technology for at least 3 years. Okay, for at least 3 years prior to filing of application. Okay, prior to filing your application. Okay, yes. So apart from that, yes, apart from that, take note also that there is a provision when it comes to this particular exemption. Okay, there are certain provisions as to this particular exemption. Okay, because we have to define this graduate of BSMT or BSPH. So there are two possible types of graduates. One who graduated here in the Philippines. Okay, one who graduated here in the Philippines. Okay, that's one. Wait, I will just write one. Graduated here in the Philippines. Oh my God. Philippines. That's the right spelling, right? Okay, so anyway, Philippines. So if the graduated here in the Philippines, it should be from a duly recognized school. Okay, not just any school for that matter. So the school, the university, or the college, ano ba yan? Or college, it has to be a duly recognized institution that offers a bachelor's degree in medtech or in public health. Okay, yes. So another is, what if the graduate graduated from other countries or graduated abroad, for example? Yes. So we have to abroad. May I just abroad or other countries? Okay, so if the medical technologist or if the applicant rather graduated from abroad or from schools which are located in other countries, okay, we have to compare the curriculum that they have there in that particular country, okay, as compared to our curriculum here in the Philippines. And if you are going to allow this graduate to be issued a COR without examination, the standard of medical technology education, it should be substantially the same. Okay, it should be substantially the same as our standard here in the Philippines. Okay, so we are looking at the curriculum of medical technology in that particular country, where the medical technology or the BSMT, BSPH graduated from. Okay, yes. So in addition to this, okay, take note. Okay, stamp. And there's no plus sign. What will I do? So in addition to being a graduate, okay, yes, of course, there is a required number of experience. Okay, yes, there is a required number of experience. So what is that required number of experience? I think I have mentioned it a while back. So we have at least 3 years experience, okay, at least 3 years experience prior to the filing of application, provided that the experience started prior to the enactment of this act. So that means this particular graduate from the Philippines or from abroad should have started his or her work experience prior to June 21, 1969, which is the enactment of your RA 5527. Okay, so say for example, if we are going to apply this particular provision of Section 21, is it still applicable nowadays? No, because, yes, because, I don't know, maybe it depends pala, okay? It depends. Like for example, yes, like for example, that person has not taken, yeah, but in that case, that person will be about 70 or 80 years old already. But of course, again, just like what I have mentioned, we do not close our doors to any possibilities. Okay, so say for example, my grandmama, okay, my grandmother wants to take the board exam. So what will be considered is that, or wants to have a COR rather, okay, without going through the examination. So of course, we have to look at the fact that the fact whether my grandmother is a graduate of BSMP or BSP. So say for example, she is a graduate of BSMP. Okay, and then she started her experience prior to the enactment of this act. So prior to June 21, 1969. So that's a very, very long experience, more than 50 years of experience. Okay, can she get a COR without examination? Of course. Of course. Okay, because she started her practice prior to June 21, 1969. However, if, for example, the experience started after, okay, after June 21, 1969, then, of course, he or she is no longer eligible or qualified to be issued a COR by the board without taking the written examination. Okay, so again, at least 3 years experience. And of course, again, the experience should have started prior to June 21, 1969. I'm sorry, 1969. So that is what we are trying to emphasize here. Okay, yes, the year or the time is very important. Okay, yes. So apart from that, take note that the experience, the work experience of this graduate, okay, of this graduate should be in a laboratory that is accredited by the Bureau of Research and Laboratories of the DOH. Okay, or it could also be laboratories in foreign countries. So say for example, this graduate worked as an OFW or an overseas Filipino worker in other countries, and his or her work experience started prior to the enactment of the law. Then again, he or she is qualified to have a COR without examination. Okay, so yan. So labs here in the Philippines, it should be accredited by the BRL, or it could also be labs in foreign countries. Okay, all right. So who else is exempted? Graduate of other professions. Okay, graduate of other professions. provided, yes, provided that this graduate has been performing medical technology practice for at least 8 years prior to filing. Okay, yes, that is also an important phrase or provision that we should look at prior to filing of what? Prior to filing of the application for your registration. Okay, so that means, yes, that means, oh sige, lagi kong, I always give my grandmama as an example. Yeah, because she's my grandmama and I think yeah, she is old enough to be an example. So anyway, graduate of other professions, and again, just like what we have mentioned, provided that this graduate has been performing medical technology practice for at least 8 years. Okay, at least 8 years prior to filing for an application for registration. Okay, so ito din ha, at least 3 years experience. Okay, at least 3 years experience prior to filing. Okay, prior to filing, and the experience should have started prior to June 21, 1969. Okay, yes. So again, let's go to the next exemption. Graduate of other professions performing medical technology practice for at least 8 years. Okay, for at least 8 years. And again, prior to filing, okay, of application. Okay, prior to filing of application. Okay, and take note po, that the practice, okay, the practice should have started prior to, sige, before, kasi baka mamaya nalilito na kayo, ang daming prior. Before June 21, 1969. Okay, yes. So before June 21, 1969. Okay, so ma'am, what if, yes, sige, mag-compute tayo as an example so that you would understand that better. Okay. All right. Ma'am, for example, a medical tech, a graduate of other profession started to work in the practice of medical technology, say for example, 1968. Okay, 1968. Is she eligible to have a COR without the written examination? Yes, she is. Okay, because the practice started 1968. Okay, however, it says in section 21 that the experience has to be 8 years. So that means 1968, okay, you add 8 more years to that. So 16 carry 1, nag-compute talaga. Tama. Okay, yan. So that means, okay, this graduate of other profession, so we are going to add 8 years, ha? We are going to add 8 years because that is the minimum requirement as to work experience as a medical or in the practice of medical technology. So that means this graduate of other profession can file by 1976. Okay, because that's basically 8 years of experience. All right, yes. Please do not be confused with the prior. So this one, yes. So this one is for a graduate of other profession. 8 years. It has to be 8 years. So let's give an example naman of a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Medical Technology or BSPH in the Philippines or abroad. That's the first exemption. So say for example, okay, this particular graduate of BSMT or BSPH started his or her work experience in the practice or in practicing medical technology in the year 1968. Um, will he or she be eligible to be given a COR without examination? Yes, because he or she started working in the practice of medical technology before June 21, 1969. Now, what is the required work experience, number of years? So we have 3 years, right? So the required number of years in order for this particular graduate of BSMT or BSPH is 3 years. So that means after 3 years, this graduate of BSMT or BSPH can already file an application for the issuance of COR without examination. So 1968 plus 3, so that's like 1971. Okay, so that is 1971. He or she can already get his or her COR, okay, without the written examination. Okay, so I hope everything is clear, ha? So again, if you have any questions, you can raise your concern in our group chat. Okay, so that is for our issuance. Okay, so other provisions which are promulgated or which are part of your section 21. Okay, still under issuance of certificate of registration. So in this naman, we are going to consider the issuance of your COR to medical technicians without examination. So actually, there is no written examination that is required of medical technicians. So for medical technicians, yes, they may, or an applicant who failed in the board exam may actually be issued a COR. So we will be discussing that. Okay, issuance of COR to medical technicians without examination. So just like for the issuance of COR for medical technologists, of course, this particular applicant should apply. Diba? Everything starts with an application. Okay, apply and then of course, pay the necessary fee. Okay, pay the necessary fee that is required, which is 50 pesos. Okay, so we have 50 pesos. Apply and pay. Okay, apply and pay 50 pesos. Okay, so apart from that, apart from of course applying and then paying, part of the process would also be showing evidences or proofs, okay, which will satisfy what is being required by the Board of Medical Technology. Okay, so that means this applicant, okay, this applicant should show satisfactory, okay, satisfactory evidence that he or she is eligible, okay, is eligible for the issuance of a COR without examination to medical technicians. Okay, so first, yes, first, a person who passed the civil service examination for medical technicians which was given on matagal na to, batch, March 21, 1964. Okay, 1964, passed the civil service examination for medical technicians, which was administered last March 21, 1964. Okay, yes. Another, okay, a person or an applicant who has finished or who had finished a 2-year college course with at least 1 year experience as medical technician, okay, as medical technician. All right. So say for example, we have here an applicant, okay, and this applicant was not able to finish the 2-year college course that is required. So say for example, he only finished 1 year. So take note that for every year, okay, every year of deficiency in college, okay, this should be replaced. Okay, so this should be replaced. This should be, sorry, replaced with 2 years. 2 years of experience. Okay, so that means instead of the usual requirement, which is 1 year experience as medical technician, you will now be required to have 3 years of experience. So that means a college or an applicant who only finished 1 year, okay, college course should have 3 years of experience as a medical technician. Okay, yes. All right, so yan, another, okay, with at least 10 years of experience as medical technician, regardless of academic attainment. So that means whether the applicant is an elementary graduate or a high school graduate, as long as this applicant has at least 10 years of experience as medical technician, he or she may be given a COR without examination. So what we are trying to emphasize here is the experience and not the academic attainment. Sabi dyan, so it says there in section 21, regardless of academic attainment. Okay? So another, failed to pass the board exam for medical technology with a general rating of at least 70%. So say for example, the general weighted average of the applicant is 72. Can he or she be given a COR? Yes. Yes, of course. As a medical technician. Okay, as a medical technician. Right? Medical laboratory technician. All right. So yeah. So those are the provisions of your section 21 before I finish. Yes, before I finish your section 21, for government employment, okay, yes, a medical technician should have the civil service eligibility not lower than second grade. Okay, not lower than second grade. So this is actually um, the final provision, di ba? The final provision of Section 21 as amended by Presidential Decree number 498. Okay, the medical technicians should have civil service eligibility of not lower than second grade. Okay, so that means, of course, if it's a higher grade, then it's fine as long as it's not lower than second grade. Okay, right. Next, let us go to the next section. We have section 22 on fees. Okay, yes. May ganon. Okay, fees. All right. So actually, section 22 on fees. So this was amended by Republic Act 6138. Okay. So this was amended by Republic Act 6138. So there are 3 fees that you have to be familiar with. Okay, so that's why, yeah, I only wrote there 50 pesos, 25 pesos, and then 10 pesos. Okay, so 50 pesos. So this is the required fee for each applicant, for examination, okay, and registration. Okay, so yan. So each applicant for examination and registration shall pay 25 25 pesos, 50 pesos. The 10 pesos from this 50 pesos will go to registration. Okay, yes, will be dedicated to the registration process. I repeat, 10 pesos of this 50 pesos, okay, or 10 pesos from this 50 pesos will be dedicated for registration. So, yeah, just write it here. So, 10 pesos, yan. So, it will be for registration. Okay. Another, we have 25 pesos. So, this is the fee that is required for a COR that is issued without examination. Okay, yes, without examination. So that means all of the exemptions mentioned in section 21, like for example, a graduate of BSMT or BSPH with 3 years of experience, a graduate of any degree with 8 years of experience for our medical technologists, yes. So they have to pay 25 pesos. So this would include, of course, the COR of our medical laboratory technicians, because remember, they are not really required to take a written examination before they are issued a COR. Okay, so yes, so 25 pesos. And then 10 pesos for new COR in order to replace a COR that was lost. Okay, a COR lost, destroyed, okay, or mutilated. Okay, so like for example, the COR got burnt. What else? The COR got crumpled. The COR was made pisang or pigis. That's Ilocano way. Napunit, tear. Okay, yes. Had a tear. Okay, and then your face, you can no longer see it. So you can have a new COR provided that you pay 10 pesos. Okay? So kanino natin, to whom do we pay? This 50 pesos, this 25 pesos, or this 10 pesos? We pay it to the disbursing office or officer of the Civil Service Commission. Okay, yes, I repeat, it is paid to the disbursing officer of the Civil Service Commission. So these payments, yes, these payments will be for the authorized expenses of the board as well as for the compensation of the board. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, um, the fund of the Board of Medical Technology basically comes from applications or from professionals yan, who already have their CORs. Okay. On the other hand, the fund of the council comes from the interns, right? I mentioned that. Yes, 5 pesos for each applicant for internship. Okay, yes. So those are the sources of the funds for your council and your board. So next section, yes, malapit na tayo. Okay, next section, we have section 23, refusal to issue a certificate. Okay, refusal to issue a certificate or a COR. Okay, so it says here, the board shall refuse to issue a COR to any person first convicted by the court of any criminal offense involving moral turpitude. Okay, convicted by the court of competent jurisdiction of any criminal offense involving moral turpitude. So, ma'am, what if No, hindi pala. Because of course, wala naman siyang COR kung convicted na siya. Okay, so anyway, yes, convicted by the court. So that means we are, when we say court here, we are referring to the judicial branch of government. So of course, from the Supreme Court up to your municipal trial courts, these are considered as courts of competent jurisdiction. Okay, yes. So another, yes, let us define what is moral turpitude and what are offenses or crimes which are considered as moral, okay, as involving moral turpitude. So may I just read this definition because it's quite long and I got it from the Philippine Supreme Court jurisprudence on a case. Yes, on a case, particularly Tak Nang versus the Republic of the Philippines. Okay, you can search it up because it was written as a jurisprudence. So meaning, when we say jurisprudence kasi, a particular case has already been decided by the Supreme Court. And so, if there are similar cases which will be filed, of course, in courts or in the Supreme Court for that matter, so they can use this particular case, okay, to argue in court. Kaya yun yung tinatawag nating jurisprudence. It has been decided, and if similar cases would arise in the future, of course, we look at the jurisprudence from the Supreme Court. Okay, so yes, so may I just Tak Nang, ay, wrong spelling, Tak Nang versus the Republic. Okay, the Republic of the Philippines. Okay, so you can look this up and you would be able to see there that the definition for moral turpitude was provided. And of course, it being coming from the Supreme Court, it's a good read, it's a good reference in order for us to define what is moral turpitude. Okay? Yeah, so as defined here, act of baseless, yes, vileness or depravity in the private and social duties which a man owes his fellow men or to society in general, contrary, it says there, to the accepted and customary rule of right and duty between man and man, or conduct contrary to justice, honesty, modesty, or good morals. Okay? So there are some offenses or crimes which involve moral turpitude, such as adultery, okay, rape, what else? Arson, tax evasion, embezzlement, bribery. So those are criminal offenses that involve moral turpitude. And if the applicant, say for example, has been convicted for tax evasion, the board will refuse. Okay, the board shall refuse. The board is actually mandated to refuse the issuance of a COR. Okay, yes. So say for example, the person has already been convicted or the applicant has been convicted of adultery, concubinage, yung mga yan, of course, okay? Or bribery, okay? Or rape, okay? Yes. So that person can no longer have a COR because the board is mandated to refuse. So those are examples of criminal offenses that involve moral turpitude. Okay? What are offenses which are not or which do not involve moral turpitude? So these offenses are those which are considered as minor transgressions of the law. Like for example, driving under the influence of alcohol. Okay? Is that an offense that involve moral turpitude? No. Okay, it does not involve moral turpitude. And so, even if you are convicted. Okay, even if you are, if you have been, yes, proven to be under the influence, driving under the influence of alcohol, can you still have your COR? Yes. Yes, of course. Okay, because that is considered as a minor transgression of the law. Okay? Actually, even involuntary manslaughter, may napatay ka, you killed somebody, but it's involuntary. It was not your intent to kill that person. Okay? It's not your intent to kill that person. Involuntary manslaughter, that is not considered as a criminal offense involving moral turpitude. What else? Illegal recruitment. Okay, illegal possession of firearms. Again, that is not a criminal offense that involve moral turpitude. So actually, when we say moral criminal offense involving moral turpitude, these are like the sukdulan, sukdulan in English. These are like the epitome, epitome of crimes. Yes, the worst of crimes. Okay, yes, but if it's just a minor transgression of the law, then you may still have your COR. Okay? All right. So enough of that. All right. Next, guilty of immoral. Grabe naman yan. Okay. Immoral or dishonorable conduct. Okay. Guilty of immoral or dishonorable conduct. Okay. So of course, dapat guilty talaga. Okay. Guilty. All right. Of unsound mind. Okay, another with incurable communicable disease. Okay, yeah, so those are the reasons for the board to refuse to issue a COR. But of course, we also have to look at recent laws or republic acts. We have the board rather has to be careful also when it comes to their refusal to issue a COR. Particularly so that we have laws on discrimination, right? Like for example, we have your HIV/AIDS law that states there that there should be no discrimination. Okay, for patients who are positive for HIV or who are suffering from AIDS. Okay, yes, of course, it's not just the basis of the board in refusing to issue a COR should not just be based on your RA 5527. They also have to include laws, particularly the recent ones. Okay, because discrimination is also not legal, right? It is not legal also, particularly in institutions, in the workplace, so on and so forth. Okay? Ano pa? Yung moral turpitude talaga, that's non-negotiable. The board may really or should really refuse. Okay, but I would just like to yeah, to highlight, yes, the last one with incurable communicable disease. So what if the person has HIV or AIDS? Okay, yes, that is an incurable disease. But again, is it communicable? Okay, so again, there are a lot of things that we have to consider also. Okay, so ayan. Is it communicable? Oh, di ba? All right, so you have to know what are the communicable diseases which are not curable. Tuberculosis, is it communicable? Is it incurable? Okay. All right, so you have to be familiar with those. Okay. So another, Section 24 on administrative investigation. Okay, yeah. Malapit na. Okay. All right. So remember that the board, di ba? The board is the one who is supposed to conduct administrative investigations by virtue of their functions and duties as stipulated in RA, in this particular act, or in your RA 5527. Okay, so administrative investigations, it should be conducted by at least 2 members of the board. So that means either, we can only have 2 scenarios here. So it's either the chairperson plus 1 member, or the 2 members of the board. Okay, at least it says there. So ma'am, what if all of the members of the board are present? Then that's okay because it says there at least. Okay, so if all the members opted to attend the administrative investigation, or opted to conduct the administrative investigation, then they can do that also. Okay, so apart from the members, at least 2 members of the board, there should be 1 legal officer who would be part, or yes, who would be part of the administrative investigation. So it says there, with 1 legal officer sitting during all administrative proceedings. Okay, yes, during all administrative proceedings, and the administrative proceedings which are to be conducted, okay, as part of the administrative investigation, it should be with the observance of existing rules of evidence. Okay, so they also follow what is in the law. Yes, yes, they also follow what is in the law. Like for example, our di ba yung mga audio recordings, are they admissible in court? Yes, provided that both parties agreed to it. But say for example, this particular audio recording, you just recorded it without the other party knowing that you are recording it, then it's not admissible in court. Okay, yes. So those rules of evidence shall also be applicable in administrative proceedings conducted, okay, during administrative investigation. Okay. All right. So rights of the respondent. Now we have to define what is a respondent. Okay, so remember that a respondent, from the word itself, respondent, okay, this is a person who gives a response. This is really how they, yeah, it sounds like it's so obvious, yeah, but this is really how they define it in legal terms. A person who responds to what? To a petition, okay, to a petition or an appeal filed against him or her. So I repeat, a respondent is a person who gives a response, or who responds to an appeal or to a petition that was filed against him or her. That's a respondent. Okay, ma'am, is a respondent also considered as a defendant? No, it's not, because when you say defendant, from the word defend, so this is a person who is being sued, okay, by another party. And with that, of course, the defendant has to provide defense for himself or herself. Okay, yeah. So pag respondent, you just need to respond to the appeal. Okay, but of course, you still have to defend yourself with whatever claims were mentioned in the appeal or in the petition. Okay, but we call it a respondent. Okay, respondent. All right. Yes, a respondent. Okay, so what are the instances in which a petition or an appeal may be, okay, may be filed against you? Say for example, when you become a medical technologist later on. Okay, so number 1, non-compliance. Yes, non-compliance of the provisions. Can I just write it here? Okay, so a petition or an appeal may be filed against you and you become a respondent if, for example, yes, let's put a number. Number 1 would be non-compliance, yes, non-compliance to the provisions, of RA 5527 as for the practice, okay, of the medical technology profession. Okay, what is being required of you as a medical technologist? Okay, you have to display your COR. Okay, but if you do not display your COR, that is non-compliance. What else? You have to practice medical technology with your license. So say for example, you passed the board exam at the age of 19 years old. Of course, you don't have a COR because you are not qualified to have a COR. Again, that is non-compliance. So if you yes, claim that you are a medical technologist, but you are not, that is non-compliance. Okay, what else? If you are practicing medical technology without the supervision of a pathologist or an authorized physician, so again, that is non-compliance. And an administrative investigation or an appeal or a petition may be filed against you. Okay, non-compliance to the provisions of RA 5527. So apart from that, violation. Okay, it's like a double whammy in your part. Violation of section 29 of your RA 5527. So take note that when we say section 29, so these are the penal provisions of RA 5527. So that means what offenses are penalized. Okay, what offenses would involve penalties? All right, ayan. Or it could also be, lastly, or it could also be unprofessional conduct. So like for example, okay, you do not adhere with the code of ethics, okay, code of ethics of medical technology, then or that is a form of unprofessional conduct. Okay, another, malpractice. Ayan, malpractice. So you say for example, you released results that are fraudulent. Okay, yes. So again, that's part of the code of ethics. Okay. What else? Incompetency. Incompetency. Okay. What else? Serious ignorance or gross negligence. Gross negligence. Let me just put it. Okay. Yeah. So this may be the reasons why a petition may be filed against you. Okay, yes. So the reason why I'm saying it's a double whammy on the part of the respondent is because of the fact that that respondent will be subjected to an administrative investigation. Apart from that, that respondent will be penalized by a court. Okay, there is a possibility that, of course, the decision of the board may not be in his favor, and of course, there is a possibility also that this person may likewise be convicted by a court. Okay, yes. So, dalawa yun. Okay, so anyway, convicted talaga. Yeah, he or she will be penalized by a particular court. Okay? All right, so let's move on to the rights of the respondent. Okay, so once a person becomes a respondent, okay, we also have to consider the rights of the respondent. So the respondent is entitled to be represented by counsel or be heard in person. Okay, so that means it's not a requirement. Okay, have a speedy and public hearing. Okay, to confront and cross-examine witnesses against him or her, to all other rights guaranteed by the Constitution. Okay, the rights of the respondent or the rights of the accused. Okay, so all of those will likewise be given to the respondent. Okay, so yeah, so still under administrative order, let me just remove that. Okay, still under administrative order. Okay, so say for example, the board, yes, the board found substantial, satisfactory, okay, evidence that a medical technologist may be considered as erring. Di ba pag sinabi mong erring, okay, an erring medical technologist is one who failed to adhere to proper standards. So that means he was found guilty or she was found guilty by the board. Okay, so what are the sanctions which may be imposed by the board? Number one is reprimand. Okay, of course, we have reprimand. Okay, another revoke or revocation, okay, of the license. And then lastly, we have suspension of the medical technologist. Okay, yes. So first, we have to take into consideration when is a reprimand applicable. So remember that a reprimand is given to an erring medical technologist if there is a majority vote. Okay, so take note ha, may I just remind everybody. So how many are the members of the board? Ilan po ang members of the board? Okay, very good. So we have 3. Okay, so yeah, you're listening, you're listening to my discussions. So when I say members of the board, it would include the chairperson. So remember that there is 1 chairperson plus the 2 members, RMT members. 1 pathologist as the chairperson, and then 2 RMTs as members. So that means the board is composed of 3. Okay, yes. And then of course, when we say majority of the votes, it means it's not the minority. Oh my God. Okay, it's really late in the evening. Okay, when we say majority votes, okay, since there are only 3, so of course majority vote would be 2/3. Okay, 2/3 regardless of position to ha. So meaning their votes count the same. Okay, so 2/3 or otherwise referred to as majority. Okay, majority vote. Okay, revoke on the other hand, revocation of a COR. So this would involve 3 out of 3 votes. Okay, or otherwise referred to as a unanimous vote. So that means all of them agreed, unanimous. Okay, all of them agreed that the erring medical technologist is guilty, okay, of the offense that he or she is being subjected to. Okay, so 3/3 unanimous vote. Okay, suspend on the other hand. So again, this would involve majority vote. So that means 2/3. So that is your majority vote. Okay, yes. So again, take note that the sanctions given to an erring medical technologist is given and decided by the board. Okay, given and decided by the board. So it could be a reprimand, majority vote. It needs majority vote. It could be revocation of the COR. This would require a unanimous vote, 3/3. Or it could also be suspension of his or her COR, which would also require majority vote. So that means 2/3. Okay. So if, for example, the medical technologist was reprimanded only, okay, if the medical technologist was reprimanded only, he or she does not need to surrender his or her COR. Okay, so who needs to surrender his or her COR? So an erring medical technologist who is suspended or who got his COR revoked. Okay, so for the penalties of revocation, so this is applicable, sorry, surrendering the COR. So this is applicable to suspension or revocation of COR. Okay, suspension or revocation of COR. Okay, so take note that the COR, it should be surrendered within 30 days after the decision becomes final. Okay, yes. What if, for example, the medical technologist failed to surrender his or her COR? So take note that inexcusable, okay, inexcusable failure to surrender his or her COR will result to perpetual disqualification from the profession. So I repeat ha, inexcusable. Oh my God, I don't like that. Inexcusable. Okay. Inexcusable failure to surrender your COR. Okay, so this will result to perpetual disqualification from the practice of the medical technology profession. So that means you will forever, diba? That is what perpetual means. Perpetual means forever, forever and ever and ever. Okay, you will be forever disqualified. Yes, from practicing the medical technology profession. Okay, so may I just add also here in the suspension. So take note that the suspension in relation to surrendering the COR, suspension will start from the date of surrender. Parang may ganun na date of surrender. I think there's a song like that. Okay, so I repeat, suspension will start from the date of surrender of the COR. Okay. All right, so those are the things that you have to mention. So I mentioned here that the surrender of the COR should be within 30 days after the decision becomes final. Ma'am, if, for example, the board has already promulgated, diba? When we say promulgated kasi class, okay? When we say, kasi it was also mentioned in section 24, after the promulgation of the decision, right? So when we say promulgation, the decision of the board has to be known. Known to whom? Known to all of the parties or to the parties which are involved in the administrative investigation, particularly the respondent. Okay? The board, they have to make sure, okay, that the decision is made known to the respondent. Okay, by either, say for example, writing a letter, sending an email perhaps, or calling the respondent. It has to be promulgated. It has to be made known to the respondent. So usually, if we are talking about proceedings like this, administrative proceedings, the promulgation of the decision is usually in the form of a letter. Okay, so once the respondent is made known of the decision, okay, again, he or she should surrender his or her COR. Okay, when will the decision of the board become final? Okay, can the respondent still do something? Okay, even if there is already a decision of the board, well, of course, the answer to that is yes. And this will be discussed in section 25 on appeals. Okay, yes, on appeals. Right, so may I just everything. Okay, yes. Appeals. Okay, when should the respondent appeal? Okay, so actually, once the respondent appeals, he or she is no longer called a respondent. That person is already referred to as an appellee or an appellant. Okay, an appellee or an appellant. Okay, so take note that when we say appellee, so this is or this applies to a person who applies to a higher court or a higher office for the reversal of a particular decision. Okay, and that is what the respondent is really doing in this case. So he or she wants the decision of the board to be reversed by going to a higher office. Okay, yes. So take note that appeals should be filed by the respondent. In that case, he would become an appellant or an appellee. Okay, and it should be made within 30 days after the promulgation of the board's decision. So again, after the respondent has been informed or the decision has been made known to the respondent, okay, that's the start of the 30-day period. So the respondent, or in this case the appellant, may file an appeal to the Civil Service Commissioner. Okay, so say for example, um, the Civil Service Commissioner sided with the decision of the board. So the Civil Service Commissioner agreed, yes, tama, agreed to the decision of the board. Is there a higher office? Yes, of course. And that is the office of the President of the Philippines. Okay? Provided that, of course, the appeal should still be within the 30-day period. Okay? Yes. So if, for example, the President of the Philippines agreed to the decision of the board, then the appeal stops there. Okay? The appeal stops there. Okay? Yes. So meaning there is no higher office other than the office of the President of the Philippines. Okay? So yes, that's the last office in which an appellant or an appellee can file an appeal for the reversal of the decision of the board. Okay? Yes. So once it is final, yes, once it is final, then um the respondent in this case should surrender his or her COR. Okay, ma'am, what if he or she or the respondent or appellee file in did not file for the reversal of the decision at the office of the president or in the office of the president, for example, then of course again whatever the decision of the civil service commissioner is, that becomes final. Okay, yes. So if the Civil Service Commissioner agreed to the decision of the board, then that becomes final. Okay, so yeah. So it says here, no appeal within 30 days, the decision automatically becomes final. Okay, so say for example, the respondent does not want to appeal anymore. So if there are no appeals after 30 days, then the decision becomes final. Okay, so in short, it's actually just 30 days. Yes, 30 days. All right. Okay. All right. So now let's move on to the next section. We have section 26 on the reinstatement, reissuance, or replacement of your COR or of the certificate. Okay. There are two, right? Yes, there are two. Because when there are two only. There are two sanctions that we are going to consider only. We have revocation of your COR, and then the other one is suspension of your COR. Because remember, if the decision of the board is merely to reprimand, then you don't have to surrender your COR. It's just a this is not to trivialize it. It's still bad that you were reprimanded by the board. But then again, yeah, you don't have to surrender your COR. Okay, so first, in the case of a revoked, okay, a revoked COR. So of course, you have to apply. Just like what I have mentioned, everything starts with an application. Okay, you have to apply. Okay, and for example, of course, you have to apply, and then of course, you have to provide the necessary evidences. Okay, and if there is a reason that is deemed proper and sufficient, plus a reason, reason deemed, oh my God, deemed proper and sufficient, okay, by the board, okay, by the board. Apply, and then reason that is deemed proper. I'm sorry, do not be, do not be like inaantok when you ano this. I'm sorry, I just cannot make pigil. Anong pigil? Cannot do anything. Yeah, I feel like yawning kasi. Sorry. Okay, so anyway, do not feel or do not be sleepy. Okay, all right. So apply plus reason that is deemed proper and sufficient by the board. Yes, so this will result to the reissuance. Okay, result to reissuance or reinstatement. Reinstatement or reissuance. Okay, reissuance. Wala talagang ano. Okay. Reinstatement or reissuance of the revoked COR. Okay, so that is the process when you want your COR to be reinstated or reissued. Okay, yes. So another, in the case naman of a suspended COR, in the case of a suspended COR, the suspension will automatically be lifted upon the expiration of suspension. So remember that suspension cannot be, okay? Suspensions cannot be more than 2 years. So it should be, the maximum should be just for 2 years. Okay, so yeah, so say for example, your COR or you were suspended for 2 years. So after 2 years, the suspension of the COR will automatically be lifted upon the expiration of the suspension. Okay, so of course, what is the process? So the process is like this. So there should be a request, okay? A request should be made by the medical technologist. Okay, yes. So a request should be made by the medical technologist, and of course, reissuance will be, okay, will be given by the board. Okay, so may I just read this provision of your section 26. Reissuance of COR upon the request of the medical technologist without prejudice to further actions. Why? Because the erring medical technologist has already been sanctioned. So that means whatever, okay, whatever violations or offenses that medical technologist was sanctioned, okay, was sanctioned of, he or she will no longer be sanctioned because of those actions. Okay, that is what is meant by without prejudice to further actions. You cannot sanction, okay? You cannot sanction a violation or an offense that has already been sanctioned. Okay, so like for example, the sanction was suspension. Okay, because of a particular misconduct. Yan. You cannot penalize or you cannot sanction the medical technologist again and say, for example, revoke his or her COR. Okay, yes, without prejudice to further actions. Okay, request for the reissuance of the COR. Okay, so that is section 26. So now let us move on to section 27. Yes, I only have 10 minutes. Section 27 on foreign reciprocity. Okay, yes. So actually, in order for us to understand or to remember better what is foreign reciprocity or section 27, just think about reciprocal. Okay, reciprocating something or giving something in return of the one that you receive. So basically that is reciprocity. Okay, the one that is provided in section 27, it's a negation of reciprocity. So that's why I made it as a positive. I stated it positively so that you would be able to correlate it with the term reciprocity. So again, when you say reciprocity, uh, you are you are given what you are giving. Ano ba yan? Okay. You are, yes, you are reciprocating. You are returning a favor, for example. So that's reciprocity. Okay. So in this case, foreigners shall be or shall have the following privileges or rights. Number one, admitted to examinations here in the Philippines. So meaning they can take the board examination. Another, given a COR, yes, provided that the provisions of RA 5527 are followed, entitled to any of the rights and privileges under this act. Okay, what is the important provision there? If the country or state to which he is a subject or a citizen confers to Filipino medical technologists the same rights and privileges. Okay, so that means in that country or in that state where the foreigner lives or where the foreigner came from, Filipino medical technologists may also take their licensure exam for medpecs. They may also be given a COR. They are also entitled to the rights and privileges of the medical technologists working in that particular country or state. Okay, that is foreign reciprocity. You are returning the favor. Okay, yes, by giving foreigners the privileges which are likewise given to Filipino medical technologists in their place. Okay, foreign reciprocity. Kasi the one that is stated in section 27, it's all a negation. And then at the end of section 27, it says there, unless, right? Unless. So what if you forgot to read the unless? So that's why I stated it in this manner, so that of course it would be easier for you to relate it to the name of the section, which is reciprocity. Okay, yes, returning the favor back. Okay, next we move on to the next section. Yes, section 28, roster of medical technologists. Okay, so remember that the roster of medical technologists, this is prepared annually. Okay, this is ano spelling ng annually? Ano ba yan, madam? Yeah, mahina ako sa spelling. Buti na lang. It's good that the board exam is multiple choice. Okay, we have annually. Kaya bang annual? Okay, anyway, class, kindly check na lang the spelling. So it is prepared by the secretary of the board annually. Okay, and it started the following year after the effectivity of your RA 5527. So the effectivity is again very good, June 21, 1969. And so the preparation of the roster by the secretary, so this was effective 1970. Okay, yes, 1 year after, sabi niya, year after the effectivity of the act. Okay, so what are the information included in the roster? So the name of the medical technologist, the address, citizenship, date of registration or issuance of the COR, and other pertinent data that is deemed necessary, okay, by the board. All right. So in addition to this, let me just remove that. In addition to this, so take note that copies are sent to each medical technologist listed in it. But unfortunately, did I receive? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure if I received a copy of it. And take note, it is open to the public, private, or governmental upon request. Okay, so it is also kept on file in the following offices. Of course, we have the Office of the President, the Department of Health, yes, the Department of Health, and other offices under the Department of Health. Okay, and likewise, it is also, yes, it is also, it may also be given to department heads, all bureau offices, and instrumentalities of the Department of Health. Okay, so in addition to that, your roster, penal provisions na. Yes, so your roster, so this is also, this may also be provided to other offices, may they be private or governmental, and to the public upon request. Okay, upon request. All right, so now let us move on to the penal provisions. I think this is the last one that is quite long. Okay, after that, all of the other laws or sections rather are short. Okay, so penal provisions. Okay, what are the penal tuloy? What are the penalties? Diba? I told you when we say penal provision, so this would involve penalties. Okay, what are offenses that will be penalized? Okay, so remember that the penal provisions, this is by virtue of the discretion of the court. Okay, penal provisions are not or are different, or the procedure when it comes to the implementation of Section 29 or penal provisions is different from your administrative investigation. Okay, because in the administrative investigation, it is conducted by the board as one legal officer, right? For your Section 29 on penal provisions, this is decided upon by the court. Okay, by the court. So meaning it's under the judicial branch of government. Okay, administrative investigation, it's for the board. Okay, ma'am, can a particular medical technologist be sanctioned by the board and the court? Yes. Okay, yes po. Pwede siyang masanction. Kaya nga sabi ko, it's a double whammy. Okay? Yes, in this case. So penalties under Section 29, we have a fine. It may be in the form of a fine. So 2,000 to 5,000 pesos. Or it may be in the form of imprisonment, 6 months to 2 years, or both. So meaning you will be fined and imprisoned at the same time. Okay, so again, this is in the discretion of the court. So what are the different offenses which are penalized? Number one, practicing medical technology without COR or exemption. So again, if you're going to look at these offenses, they are all violations of certain sections of RA 5527. Okay? Another, we have medical technologists who are not supervised by a pathologist or an authorized physician. Medical technologist who knowingly makes fraudulent laboratory results. So meaning a medical technologist who gives false laboratory reports. Okay? Medical technologist who refuses to display a COR after a warning has been given. Okay? After a warning has been given, okay, by the board. So say for example, you still refuse to display your COR, then you may be penalized for that particular violation. Letter E, person who uses the COR of another medical technologist. Okay. A person who gives false or fraudulent evidence. Okay. So false or fraudulent evidence in the case of administrative investigations or proceedings, or if, for example, you give false or fraudulent evidence when you apply, okay, application, okay, of or for COR. So if you are applying for a COR and you gave a fraudulent evidence, then that may also be penalized. Okay. So apart from that, we have person who impersonates any registrant, person who uses a revoked or suspended COR. Remember, you're not allowed to do that. Person who assumes, uses, or advertises any title or description that he is a medical technologist without a valid COR. Okay, so the reason why we are using person here, because it is not just applicable to medical technologists. It may also be committed by any person for that matter. Okay, another, ayan, person or corporate body who shall allow anyone in his employ who is not a registered medical technologist or medical laboratory technician to engage in the practice of medical technology or recommend for appointment to the position of medical technologist or medical laboratory technician, knowing that he is not registered as such. Ang haba. It's very long. Okay. So anyway, to make it simple, meaning a person or a corporate body. So that means it may be an institution in this case. Okay? Who employs a person who is not a medtech or who is not a technician. Okay? Or a person or an institution who would recommend somebody who is not really a medical technologist or a medical laboratory technician, even if that person or that institution knows that he is not registered. Okay? Another, person or corporate body who shall violate the rules and regulations of the board or orders promulgated by it, provided, class, that these rules and regulations have been approved and issued by the President upon the recommendation of the Civil Service Commission, okay, for the purpose of carrying this act. Okay, so those are the offenses which may be penalized, okay, with the discretion or upon the discretion of a court. Okay, separability clause, yes. Section 30, so all acts, executives, rules and regulations or parts thereof inconsistent with the provisions to any persons or ang haba, besh, or circumstances is declared invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remainder of this act of the application of such provisions to other persons or circumstances shall not be affected by such declaration. Okay? And then 31, this is the repealing clause. All acts, executive, rule, orders, rules, and regulations or parts thereof inconsistent with the provisions of this act are hereby repealed. Actually, there are all of the laws has a repealing clause. Okay, yes. So, oh my God, mag-iyon na naman ako. Wait lang. Okay. Okay, shall be provided, however, that nothing in this act shall be construed as repealing or amending any portion of the Medical Technology Act, Medical Act of 1959. We have RA 23E2 as amended by RA 4224, the Clinical Laboratory Act of 1966, and the blood banking law of 1956. Okay, 1956. All right, so wait a moment. You will not be able to notice this. All right, ayan. 4688, Clinical Laboratory Act, and then Blood Banking Law of 1956, we have RA 1517. And lastly, we have effectivity. Okay, so this act shall take effect upon its approval. So again, the approval of your RA 5527 being June 21, 1969. All right, no bashing class, no bashing. I know, right? Yes, nagyon ang instructor sa mismong video. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So anyway, yes, no bashing. I do hope that you are able to learn yes, more about the different sections of RA 5527 by watching these videos. Okay, so for the coverage of our exam, so it will just be until RA 5527. Okay, so for my LBC class, it will be on Friday, and then for my LBE class, it will be on Saturday as previously announced. Okay, and of course, don't worry class, all of the items will be multiple choice. Okay, so don't forget about the orientation given with regard to examinations. You are required to take it with your cameras on. Tama ba ako? Yes. We will be having a Google Meet and I will be supervising you while you take your exam. Okay, so yes. Yes, so I'll see you again. Midterms! Okay, no bashing Walang magbabash sa akin dyan Okay, hindi ko talaga sinasadya. I'm sorry, it's my subconscious self who was doing it. Okay, or who did it. I'm really sorry. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I know some of you are reviewing late at night. I know some of you are watching this early in the morning. So yeah, weather lang. Okay. So yeah, I do hope that I was able to help you know bashing ulit sabihin ko sa inyo. Okay, yes, I'll see you again in my next video. Yes, we will be having a new drama. It's your clinical laboratory law, but it's gonna be in the midterms. Okay, see you again, guys. Bye. Bye. Have a good morning. Have a good day. Have a good night. Bye. No bashing. No bashing. Learning only.